Hello, hello. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fearless Friday. I'm trying to make sure we're live and we're good to go. If you can hear me, y'all let me know to make sure we're good to go. I'm super excited about this conversation today. Talking all things healing, hope, and happiness. That's the season we're in. And listen, the panel today, I am sure, is going to bring it. So let's get everybody on screen to get them to introduce themselves. Hello, ladies.
Hey.
Hey,
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, all of this melanin and popping and whatever. Okay, I see y'all. Happy Friday. Super excited to join you ladies today and have this dynamic conversation, which I know is going to be good. I already know, that we about to get it popping today. So I would like to go ahead and let you ladies introduce yourselves and in no particular order. So you guys jump in and feel free to whoever wants to go first.
Okay, I'll go. I'm Ebeny Bland. I'm the owner of Escape Haven and Company, which is a wellness company centered around understanding the true meaning of self-care. I am the owner of a day spa, and we also use products and classes to just educate and create a space for healing and vulnerability on a regular basis. I'm glad to be here.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Symone. I am a newly certified financial therapist. I operate a financial therapist company called Lacuna, which just means to break. And in that therapy practice, we basically help individuals break poverty and debt cycles. So we focus on financial coaching and financial counseling. And I am also super excited to be here.
Yes.
And I am Kamia Hayes. I'm a mindset coach, and I help women so that they can show up confidently and authentically in every area of life.
Well, welcome, ladies. Thank you again for joining. And I didn't get to introduce myself, but I am Ciera. I'm the mental health homegirl. So I am all things mental health. Love to have the conversation and talk about how we can normalize the conversation about mental health. So I'm super excited to gauge your perspectives about you and your respective industries, especially when it comes to financial, because people sometimes don't even understand that financial could be some mental issues. So definitely excited to have the conversation. So we're gonna jump into it, right, and start with the first question. But in your opinion, what does it mean to protect, uplift, and value Black women? And we'll go ahead and start with Raven.
Okay. So when I think of protecting, uplifting, and what was the other one? Protecting, uplifting, and empowering.
Value.
Valuing Black women.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I hear all of them. So when it comes to protecting Black women, it's definitely the thing that I think of the most, especially coming from corporate America, is holding that space for us when we're not able to, right? So when we're not able to be in the room, that you're still saying, oh no, Raven is good for this position, or, Ebony, you should go to her spa. She's really good. If you want to get your mindset together, you need to hit up my homegirl over here. I can't see her name, Kamia.
It's
So
Kamia.
yeah, so it's like holding that space for us when we're not able to be in the room, right? And then speaking up for us when you see that we are being marginalized. I feel like that's what it means to protect the Black woman. Valuing a Black woman is understanding when we talk about something and when we're passionate, we're not angry, right? Because I feel like so many women don't say what they're really thinking because they don't want to be perceived as the angry Black woman. So definitely knowing that, no, she's just passionate about it and what she's saying actually matters, right? So that is what I think of first when I think of valuing. And then the other one, it was valuing, protecting. One more time, Ciera. Uplifting. Okay, yes. Uplifting. So all of that together, right? So uplifting is definitely tagging us in with each other, and then also even in the Black community among Black women ourselves, to not try to sow so much discord, right? So making sure we're supporting each other, making sure that we are uplifting each other, empowering each other, and plugging each other, right? That's what it's all about.
Yes. And before we move on, because I want you ladies to answer that as well. Something that you said that I want to kind of throw out there, because I feel like we're gonna have to do some defining while we're in here, because we can't assume that everybody is aware, right? And so you talked about holding space. And from a therapeutic approach, I'll come from that. From a therapeutic approach, holding space, a lot of people don't know how to do. Holding space is not your advice. It is not your telling somebody what to do. It's literally giving people space to be who they are in the moment.
Right.
So I want to throw that out there, because Raven hit us hard with that one. So just be clear that holding space is being whatever a person needs in that moment. And before we move on to the question too, to let everyone else jump in, I don't want to say your name wrong, so I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and you tell me how I say your name, because I don't want to mispronounce it.
Hey, ladies, my name is Shandrea. Everybody calls me Drea. I'm Shandrea Lasco, and I am what I like to say a wife ambassador and self-love influencer. So my business is the Wife Studio, and WIFE is an acronym for Within I Feel Empowered. So there, I help champion women to do life, love, and relationships their way, and we do that by starting within. So I facilitate that through workshops. I actually have a 6-week membership experience that I do as well with women, just to help them tap within and just live their best life. So uplifting and encouraging, and that's what I'm so passionate about. So hey, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us. And the question on the table right now is, in your opinion, what does it mean to protect, uplift, and value Black women? And Ebony, we'll go ahead and jump with you too.
I knew you was going to call me next. I'll kind of give an answer with like combining all, because Raven, she hit a lot of good points, and I don't want to repeat what you said. But my biggest thing, I think the quickest way to answer that is to just speak about honesty. Like you said, a lot of times we are in this space, and we're told we have to be so strong and we have to carry all of these different weights of the world, but we don't really always allow each other to be vulnerable. You know, a lot of times we respond to it like it's a problem or you need to get over it. But I feel like as women, other women should be that safe space for us to just genuinely be ourselves. Genuinely. If you're having a rough day, you should be able to express that to me and not me fault you for it or tell you need to get it together. So I think a big thing is honesty. Also, I know everybody here has their own business. When you do have access to other resources up there, we understand as Black women that a lot of time it's hard for us to get access to those things. So when you do get access to it, don't be stingy about it. You know,
Yes.
know other people, especially I always tell people to stick with your field. If you're not an expert in something that somebody is asking you about, don't just turn it down, but go ahead and let them know about your sister who would be a great candidate for them, because that can honestly keep the community building. A lot of times we talk about not having the funding and not having the resources, but I truly believe that everybody has, even if it's just one good connect, everybody has at least one. So how the world can change if we just open that to our community and not look at each other as competition, but really look at each other as what can partnerships come in, where can collaborations come in. And that's not just helpful in the business world, but it's also extremely helpful in the personal world.
Yeah. Girl, you said a mouthful. Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that the whole concept of community in the village somehow, somewhere along the way got lost.
Yeah.
Got lost. So if anybody wants to speak to that, feel free, or if you want to jump in and add to that, to the question that's on the table right now, you can do that too.
I want to say something about the part about the community getting lost. Like, I think that as Black women, it's so important for us to be confident in our own skin and who we are. And when we do that, we don't have a problem with putting somebody else on instead of trying to be everything for everybody, because when I win or when my sister wins, then we all win. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was really good what you said about the community piece. And I think the missing link is just really being secure in who you are and knowing that, look, girl, you dope. You are the secret sauce. and you are the one, like nobody can do it like you. And so don't feel bad because you sent somebody to Ebony. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's put everybody on.
Absolutely. Drea, you want to add to that?
Yeah, because when she was talking about like doing it for the community, when I read that question, like, what does it mean? For me, it was like the very survival of our culture, right? And what it really means to be a Black woman. I know a lot of things happening in society now will have us to dim down our light or to stay in the shadows in the background. For some of it, for some of the very reasons that you said, as far as not wanting to seem like that angry Black person, and I'll be like, it's not anger, it's my passion that comes out sometimes, right? So I think the more that we're able to uplift and encourage women to be who they are, how they are, right? I think that's one of the things that'll really help with that whole community piece, right? It takes a village, and like we see it generation to generation to generation, which is why, and generations are starting to change. So that's why I think now the more that we are having conversations like this, the more that we are collaborating and not collaborating, right? And just really uplifting each other. I mean, I think we'll be all right.
Definitely. And I think that, even talking about our passion being mistaken for anger is a topic in itself, right? And when you talk about healing and hope and happiness and all of that, it's almost like people expect us to be who we aren't authentically, right? Yeah. And that's not just with corporate or other business owners, that's also amongst ourselves too. And it's crazy how you could be in a room full of Black people or Black women and your passion can still be mistaken for anger when it's like, girl, you know what I'm trying to say, mm-hmm. Right? And so it's becoming aware of, we don't have to fit societal norms. We are norming ourselves. Like we are a standard. Black women are a standard ourselves. And I think if we were able to operate from that space, all of that other stuff would fall in line, Yeah. So let's dive into it a little deeper. Who is a Black woman, alive or deceased, that played a very integral part of your life? And anybody can jump in where they fit in.
I want to go first. I'll say this. So one lady, she may be on here. Her name is Felicia. I met her when I first moved to Cincinnati, and she was a pharmacist. But she still is a pharmacist. She's just retired. And one thing that she did for me, she started executive coaching. So when I was still in corporate, I moved into the executive role. So I had to get an executive coach. And of course, I'm like, I want a Black woman. So I did it. I basically got with her, right? One thing that she told me, I asked her, I say, hey, I'm going on vacation. I want to get braids. But in the past, I've always gotten braids and then taken them back out before I came to work. Mm-hmm. This time, I don't want to do that. And once she said something to me, and I don't even know if she knows how much that stuck with me, she was like, if you get them and you wear them to work, own it. You know you're going to get questions, just own it. And whatever, if you're not comfortable with getting questions, if you're not comfortable with owning it, then take them out. And she was like, but I behoove you to not take them out. And I did not take my braids out. And for the first time, I went to corporate and I showed up with box braids down to my butt and I owned it, right? And I was so happy. Like they was like, oh, Raven, you're glowing from your vacation. I was like, I'm glowing because I got these braids in. And then it was crazy because sometimes society could put pressure on us, and then our own internal pressures that really girl, like, who said braids weren't professional, right? So it's like nobody even asked me about my braids. All they said was, oh, your braids look good. That's a new look on you. They look really good. They didn't say, can I touch it? None of that stuff, right? So it's like I built up all of this anxiety around something that wasn't even there, but just connecting with that other Black woman and her just telling me to own it. It totally changed it. Now I wear braids, I wear my sew-ins, I do whatever. And that was just so freeing for me. So I would definitely give kudos to Felicia Dale for that.
Yeah, sometimes we do place unnecessary pressure on ourselves. It'd be like that little birdie on our shoulder talking that ain't really there. And we just convince ourselves of these things that aren't even real. So I definitely own it. That's what I'm taking notes. So I hope y'all taking notes too. So own it. Who wants to jump in next?
I'll go next. I know that this is like a cliche answer, but I have to say it's my mom, Michelle Bland. I kind of took the last week after you all sent the questions. I took the last week, and there was a lot of things I realized that she did that was transformational for my life, and I just realized it. So knowing that her goals did not stop based on life. Knowing that when she had me, she could not walk. She was in a very bad accident where her femur was sticking out of her leg. It was very bad. And just knowing that as a mother, she wasn't really able to care for her first child, but she did not allow that to discredit her womanhood. She was still very, very evident and a great mother in what she could do until she was able to get herself back together. And I just realized, like, now I was like, yeah, you went to college and it took you 10 years to get done after having me. After everything that came, when I graduated kindergarten, she graduated college, and it was a dual celebration. And I just now realized that was a huge deal. And I think a lot of times in life, when things come, we use it as excuses. But just knowing that I was birthed from somebody who went through hell and high waters, of course, I'm sure everybody has. But knowing that a lot of that started after I was born, and still seeing that same person still say, well, I'm going to go to school for this because I want to do something else, or I want to do different hobbies because it's just something I want to learn, and truly just be embrace fully who she is. That has been inspirational to me. And I think Raven or Kamia, somebody said it earlier about understanding how authentic we are as human beings. And it's something that we don't really embrace until we tell ourselves that we don't have to do a lot. We're just great human beings as we are. And there is nothing that's weird about us, or there's nothing that's, it may be unusual, but we were created like that for a reason. So I'm learning, and I was birthed from that to fully embrace who I am. And being able to understand that just me by itself can secure deals. Just me by itself can build relationships. Just me by myself and who I am can do everything that God has called me to do, because He has created me this way for a reason.
Mm-hmm. You alone are enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You alone are enough.
And I guess I'll go share next, because I've been, like you, been thinking about it as well. And it's like, the way my brain works is just like, I built who this woman is. So my mother is part of her. My grandmother is part of her, and my great grandmother is part of her. I was in my 20s when my great mother died. So all of these generations that came before me show me all of their strengths, like just being passed down. My great grandmother, she let you know what she felt and how she felt it, and was unapologetic about it. Okay. Where it may have been off-putting to some people, but I seen so much strength in that. And I was like, oh man, I can't wait till I get older so I can just say what I want to say when I want to say it. Then I found out from my grandmother that there had to be a balance to that, right? Like there's an art to it. So from my grandmother is where I found that it's okay to be humble. Humble does not make you weak, right? There's actually strength in that humility, and being able to utilize that to run a household, to, care for a husband, to raise children and your children's children, because I was pretty much raised by my grandmother, so to speak. And then same thing as far as my mom, single mother, 4 children, had me in high school, of course, was in the system, welfare and things like that. And I was raised in that. So I knew that being raised in that, this is where those generational curses stops. This is where I get to change the narrative for what's to come from our household. And seeing her strength is what gave me the strength to push past all of those barriers. So that's who my woman is, all 3 of them.
Ooh. I just almost fell out the chair, Jesus.
Oh. Not today, Lord.
I know, not today. So I think for me, like, there are a lot of women that have, like, helped me along the way. But I'll say 2. I'll say, like Ebony and Drea said, my mom is definitely like a big part of who I am as a mother, as a wife, because like I got a house full of kids, okay? And so my mom like has always been like the calm for me. She's always been my safe place. You know, if I'm feeling down, I could always like go to her house and just lay in her lap. She's always been my peace. And I think for me, she's kind of shown me like balance, you know. And then another person that I feel like helped to shape me is I call her my TT. She is somebody that mentors me, and she's been since I've been in my 20s. She's been there for me. She was the first person to, you know, help me to find a corporate job. And when I had my son, she helped me find a corporate job. And so that opened, you know, a lot of doors. And then even now, like she encourages me. She mentors me. She coaches me. She does all of that. And so I think the two of them would be a part of my lady, but my one lady consists about 10 women, to be honest. I'm just, you know, I'm just blessed and grateful. Like God just sends people my way that just continue to pour into me. So I might stop here with this one person and they gave me all they can give, and then we just build from there. So yeah.
And I think the other part of it too is like for me, my person would be people that I don't know. Like, you know, like when you start to make connections and you're introduced to people who may not be from your same walk of life, you learn that womanhood has such a different meaning for just like for me, it may be one way, but for you, it may be another way. And I think just going back to something that Raven said, just owning that. Right, just owning that. There's this concept that I've been thinking about lately of people like to say what's normal or what a standard is, but all of that is subjective, right? Normal is subjective. But when you look at what's healthy versus unhealthy, that's where it's at. That's the reality of when you're talking about healing and happiness and hope. It's not about what's normal, because what's normal for you is not normal for me. Right. But what is healthy? What does healthy look like, and how does that show up? And I think embracing that from so many people that I've been exposed to, especially moving into being like a real adult, because we real adults now.
Right.
Being in real womanhood, I feel like what I've learned in the later life has come from complete strangers or people that I continue to meet. Just like I'm taking something from you guys already now, and that is going to shape who I become tomorrow and in the future. And I think that's the dope part of, you know, Black women or just being a woman in general, is being able to absorb that from a variety of people. Go ahead. Somebody's about to say something.
I love that you said, like, because I think so much sometimes we fight so hard, right? We fight so hard to be the strong black woman that sometimes it takes us out of our natural element and how we were created to bend and flow, to bob and weave, right? I like to say that we as women are circular, right? Like we can take the circle, we can bend it into a figure 8, we can twist it or whatever, and we don't break. That's how we were designed. And I think sometimes somewhere along the way, we lose being able to operate from the very core of how we were created and how we were made. So when you go through your healing, right, and you have that hope that inspires you to heal, being able to bob and weave and move and shake, you find your happiness in that. And I just love when you said that. It just made me reflect on like my own journey of stepping into that and just how freeing it is. Love it.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. Just based on what you all already said, I also understand that a lot of times healing stems from setting boundaries. Everybody has their own set of boundaries, and until we are honest about what those boundaries are, we can't truly heal. It's hard for me to say, I'm going to come to you for counseling. I love therapy. I'm going to come to you for advice, or I'm coming to you venting, and I'm not going to change anything that's causing me to just be aggravated on a regular basis. And there's nothing wrong about those boundaries. The same way you said, all of us are different. All of us has different boundaries. All of us has different capacities. I'm not a mom, so when I see mothers, like, it gives me anxiety because I'm like, how do y'all do this? I don't understand. How do you balance all of this? And I don't get it. That is foreign to me. But the mothers in my life are telling me, just shut up. When you get there, you'll know how to do it. You'll know how to tap into it. But like you said, that support is there. But until we are honest about what our boundaries are, that's where true healing. It's not until then that true healing comes into play.
Mm-hmm. But how do you even know? Like a lot of people don't even understand what it means to have boundaries, especially as a culture. Like the way that we grew up, we supposed to show up for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You supposed to, your family comes first and you put yourself last, and and if you grew up in the church, like, I mean, we're taught you're in order to be humble, right? Like humility means not saying no. At least that's how we were raised, and that's what we were taught. Now, us, like now, there's so many resources out here that we know, like, we don't have to live this way, right? We don't have to say yes to everybody, because it's not okay to operate from a place of burnout, right? It's not okay. Like, who set the standard for the strong woman? Like, who told us we had to be strong? Where did that even come from? So we got to unlearn all of these unhealthy behaviors that we were taught growing up, right? Even balance. Like, ain't no balance, girl. You just learn, like, the whole learn as you go. When your baby get here, you'll know, girl, that's not true. I got sick and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, no, that's not true. I mean, it's just so many things that we are told and we are taught, and so many patterns that we just have to unlearn, because a lot of it is just bull. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about balance, because in the things that we were taught, like I heard so much, like, because I'm a mother, mom of 4. So I also work in corporate America along with what I do with the Wife Studio. And so it's just kind of like, how do you balance all of it? And I tell people all the time, balance. I grew up thinking balance, you balance the scale, right? And you put this, and it's equal. But I tell people, I've learned that balance doesn't mean equal, it means fair. And so it means giving a fair amount of time to, how do I need to prioritize, right? Have I done this? Have I done that? It helps to relieve you of a lot of guilt. It helps alleviate you from a lot of saying yes just to please people, right? It kind of leaves you all of that. It's like, well, what's fair? What's fair to where I'm giving my time, where I'm giving my energy, and how I'm treating myself? Because at the end of the day, pouring from an empty cup never works. Never works.
Yeah. And what I was going to add to that as well was I tell the people who I counsel this a lot when it comes to finances, right? Because that's the number one thing. No one told me how to save. No one told me how to budget. No one told me I don't have to spend my money exactly when I get it. And I always tell them, okay, listen, I want you to kind of relieve yourself from that. That wasn't your responsibility, right? But now you know. So now it's your responsibility, right? You can't hold yourself responsible for what you don't know. And I think that we do that a lot. I used to do that a lot. I used to hold well, why didn't I do this? And looking back on how I should have did college and how I should have did life after college, I didn't know those things. I know now. So that's why it's good. I think somebody said this before, tell someone else, right? So when I see other young girls going to college and they want to go into accounting, I'm like, okay, go ahead and start studying for your CPA now. Don't wait until after college, right? Because you're going into corporate is something new. So I definitely think we should start relieving ourselves of the pressure of the things we did not know. Once we know the things, now we can move differently. But until we know them, we can't look back and put more pressure on myself for things that we didn't do.
And I think the concept of when you know better, you do better is such a cliche thing that but it's facts. Like, that is real, because you can't know what you don't know. Right. And Kamia, right? Is it? Please leave. No. Can you tell me how to say it?
It's Kamia.
When what Kamia was talking about, when it came to people not even understanding what boundaries are, people don't even know how to define it. So if y'all could take the time to just define, I have a definition, but I'm gonna wait till y'all tell y'all definition of how do you define what a boundary is for you and how it is in your life.
I mean, for me, I look at it as a fence. I feel like, for me, I know who I am, and everybody cannot have access to me. Everybody can't have access to you know, when you think about, you know, when you just pick up the phone at a certain time and you think you're gonna call me and I'm gonna be there. Like everybody doesn't have that type of access to me. And I like to use the example of when I was a kid, where I lived, it was cow pastures like in the area, right? And sometimes they would get out of the gate and they would mess, right? And so when you think about, like, they would be all in our yard and it'd be like piles of stuff in our yard, right? And so when I think about boundaries, I think about the fact that that fence was put there to keep those cows out. And when they did not stay within the boundaries where they were supposed to be, right? If I don't keep people in their place, then they gonna come to me and they gonna dump their mess on me and they gonna leave that mess there, right? For me to clean up. And that ain't even my responsibility. So boundaries, fences, that keeps the people and it, you know, where they're supposed to be, and it keeps me where I'm supposed to be. And so when I think about boundaries, like, don't come over here with that mess because I'm not cleaning it up. Okay. That's not my job.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Call Ciera.
No, don't call me either. don't call me. Anybody else want to throw out what their boundary definition is?
Yeah, sure. I remember about a year ago, I was in therapy because I was just stressed out and I didn't understand why. And I was given this homework assignment to write a list down of all of the people, not people I could not live without, but people who played a huge influential role in my life. Mm-hmm. And the list was shorter than I thought. It was very short. And when I got done, I was like, okay, what's the point of this? She was like, all right, so all the people who's not on the list are all the people who's causing you to be stressed out. These are all the people you're going above and beyond for. These are all of the people whose jump you're taking on, and they don't have the capacity to be that same person for you. So it's literally draining you because you're just constantly pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, but you're not getting refilled. And once I had made that list, I just made a lot of, that was how I set my boundaries. So one of the things I tell my friends or even people I communicate on a regular basis is, hey, when you call me, don't ask me about how's business or how's, you know, other things that I do, but ask me how I'm doing. If you are about to call me to vent, ask me if I can handle what you're about to give me. And it's not a rude thing. It's just that if I'm not honest enough to tell you I can't handle that today, my responses may be out of frustration or like, girl, like, why would you call me with this? Just because I'm not in the right space and I'm getting upset with you because you were calling a friend. So one of the things that we do is like, when we call is like, hey, are you good today? Because I need to let go. And if the answer is yes, okay, we just let it all out. If the answer is no, but I'll pray for you, no, but I'll get back in touch with you like late next week, or I'll check in on you at a later time. Cool. But I think, like, I always go back to honesty because that's what I do. Like, I do massage therapy. So when I have my clients, I'm the one that see people coming in here crying or releasing because this was the first quiet time they've had in Lord knows how long. It's the first time that they've had where nobody's not knocking on the door, interrupting them, asking them to do something. And a lot of times when I talk to them, sometimes I don't, but sometimes when I do, that's typically what it stems from. They're just taking on way more than they're taking on things that is not their responsibility. That's what it is. I feel like things that is our responsibility, we have the capacity to handle it. If it is not your responsibility, you need to be the decider of if you're going to take that on at that time or not. And I promise you, you will have a much more happier life once you set that boundary.
And that's Ebeny is all up in my definition. That is definitely what my definition of boundary is. I feel like you can't set a boundary if you don't know capacity, right? Mm-hmm. So everything starts with you, right? I can't set a boundary if I don't know how much I'm willing to take or how much I'm able to take. So first I do the inner work. Okay, what can I take on? So it goes to when you start to dump on me and I'm like, nope, I don't have that capacity today. I'm on another level. I'm going to hit you back tomorrow or something, you know, or whatever the case may be. So that's how I started setting boundaries. It's like, what am I willing to accept, right? And then another thing that Ebeny said when she was like, it's not rude. And I always tell people it's not rude. It's just real, right? You can't, if I'm hurting your feelings, and that goes back to showing up as our authentic self and standing in my space, right? My friends pretty much know certain things they can come to Raven for and certain things they can't, because If they want to be coddled, Raven probably is not the person for this, right? If they want empowerment, okay, Raven probably can do that. So it's like, but they know that. And at first, I used to try to be everything for everybody. And I had to realize I had to play my position and people had to play their position in my life, right? And again, it's not rude, it's just real.
Agreed. And I like how you were saying that, like, if you don't know that it's there, because for me, pleaser personality, right? Going back, that's why I help women do the inner work, right? To find out what's causing this surface level reaction and stuff. So technically I'm a pleaser. So I had trouble identifying what my boundaries were, because here I am just operating like, no, I love to give. I don't mind doing this. I don't mind doing that, right? And that's usually what happens. Is sometimes it's like, girl, I don't mind staying up to 4 o'clock talking to my friend or whatever. But then what it is really just like, I tell my clients sometimes, I'll be like, check in, because what your mind is not telling you, your body will tell you, right? That mind-body connection. If that phone rings and your heart start beating fast, and you start feeling like, "Whew, I'm about to pass out," that's a sign, right? Like, I don't need to take this call right now. Maybe I need to hit her with the, "Hey, I'm busy, I'll call you back later" message, versus even picking up the phone to tell her I'll call her back. So it's doing all of that, like we've been talking about, that deeper work of checking in, like with because your mind is going to tell you something else, but your body going to tell you the truth every time. You start getting the shakes when a certain conversation start coming up. That's how you know, sis, you reached your cap. You reached your cap, because your body is saying, we can't take on this weight today. You still got some other stuff from last week you got to dump off first before you take on anything else.
Yeah, girl, y'all better come on. So the way that I explain it to my clients is I tell them boundaries separate the behaviors of unhealed people to those who are healing. Because when you're on a healing journey, you become self-aware and you're able to pay attention to your body. You're able to say, no, this is just who I am. You're able to say, no, I don't have this capacity. I can't do that. Okay, Tab said, run it back. Boundaries they separate the behaviors of unhealed people to those who are healing. And it's simple, because if you're not healing, you can't understand what it means to be self-aware, because you're not on that journey. You ain't there yet. You haven't unlearned those things that you were taught as a child to just do and show up and all of that. So it's important for people to understand that healing requires you to become self-aware, and self-awareness is what gives you the capacity to say no or set boundaries, put that fence up with people, because you understand that this is not for me. Yeah, okay.
I like
you know what? We about to let's go into this good question, because I know y'all about to bring it on this too. So this is Women History Month, and the theme is healing, hope, and happiness. So what does that symbolize for you guys? And y'all take it where you want to. Whoever want to start and take a stab at that, y'all can.
To me, it's a blueprint. It's a blueprint. It's a step-by-step strategy, like in that order. Like once you're healed, it gives you hope to be able to receive the happiness when it comes to you, right? So it's, to me, when I seen it in that, look, what was her name? And in that order,
Mama
so
D.
when I seen it, I'm like, that's a path, that's a journey right there. That's what it signified to me.
That's good.
That's good. I agree. I don't think you can't be truly happy if you're not healed. So I totally agree. I think that in that order, and healing looks like just doing the work, doing the work, getting to know who you are, becoming self-aware, addressing the ugliness, getting rid of all of the surface stuff, and, really being healed. And I think once you change the way you think, when you begin to change the way you think, then you will become more hopeful. You switch from from a victim to somebody who's victorious. You switch your mindset and you start thinking different. It's nothing for you to be hopeful, regardless of what things are looking like around you. You can still have hope in just knowing, like, look, yesterday I was here, or a year ago, this is where I was, this is where I am now. And so I'm hopeful that next year I'm going to be in a different place. And then that brings happiness. Like, when you start to heal and you adopt a heart of gratitude, like true gratitude, like I don't care what's going on around you, you'll still be able to find something. You'll still be able to find the good, even if it's that I ain't cried for 2 hours, you know.
Right.
I went all day without breaking down in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? And so you just keep pushing, and there's that.
Yeah, celebrate them small wins.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think sometimes we get so caught up on the big picture that we miss out. Like a lady told me earlier, I don't know if it was this year, maybe it was last year, but I was going through a lot, and I was like, you know, venting to her about some of the things. Like she's a pastor, and she's known me since I was a little girl. And I was just telling her all this stuff that was going on, and she was like, listen, Kamia. She was like, the enemy wants to magnify everything. Yes, all of those things happen, but even with all of those things going on, there were some good things happening, but you missed it because you were so focused on those big things that were happening. And so what you need to do is you need to get to a place where you're like, okay, what is God doing in this situation? You know, yes, all of this is going on, but let me just sit down and be intentional and start out my day really focusing on what did God do yesterday instead of what did the enemy throw my way yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you just it's a lifestyle, and just really shifting your mindset, really go looking for the good. Just like, I don't know, back in the day you would go and look through, you know what I'm saying, you would go look through the phone looking for stuff, right? You searching and you trying to find stuff. No, search for the good stuff. Search for what God is actually doing in this season, and that's where all of that other stuff comes.
You better
you better, because what you just talked about was perspective, right? And
Yeah.
I had a session with a client last week, and I said to her, I said, just because you're broken doesn't mean that you're not whole. And
That's
she
right.
sat there and she looked, and I was like, what do you mean? I said, so let me give you an example, because I love being like figurative, right? So if somebody is building a house, right, you got walls in the house, but isn't a door a hole in a wall? Isn't, but that cut out piece of that whole wall has a purpose.
Right.
It's the same way when it works with us, right? We go through things, or things happen to us, and in the moment we're not able to process, okay, this is for purpose, this is for a reason. Because I guarantee you, every one of y'all have a story. We all have our own story. And if you go back and you talk about your life, nothing that you've gone through could be changed, because you wouldn't be who you are.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing. It's all about that perspective and changing your mindset to look for the good, even when it don't look good. You know,
A good friend of mine says broken crayons still color.
They do.
They still color. So when you said that, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And if all things work together,
and do
okay,
like witness and it do.
Okay, and
people,
do.
write out that overcome list, and you will. I have an overcome list that I give people. Write out that overcome list, and you'll be able to see all of those things that you thought were going to break you and destroy you, but you're still here.
That's good.
But God,
I'm gonna have to steal that. I'm gonna get me a look. I'm gonna put that in my journal, the overcome list. Okay, that's good.
And there is something that you said too that stuck out to me. When you were telling your story on when the lady said something to you, you could not remember when it was. I think so many of us focus on what we're going through, and we stay in that spot. Like, you could tell you don't heal from it, you don't move on, because you don't remember when it was. You was like, it was this year or last year. And I think that speaks so much to you, like, as being really healed from it, and not just saying that you healed from it, right? Because you can't even remember, like, because we dwell on those things that sometimes hurt us the most instead of dwelling on what makes us happy. So definitely that mindset shift. But going back to the question too, and it is maybe because I'm a numbers person, but I see it as an equation, right? So going through the heal process, all of that, what you're doing, healing is hard. Healing is dark. Healing is deep. Healing hurts, right? Because sometimes, yes, we're healing from other people, but then I don't think we talk about when we have to heal from ourselves. We have to heal from the things we put on ourselves, the reason why we're going through what we go through. And I think as we go through that process, the byproducts of healing is the hope in the happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's exactly what you all have been saying. All of you have been saying. Once you go through that healing process, what is waiting for you on the other end is that hope and that happiness that you're going to get. And then it's like, that's why now, once you're healed, your reactions to things are different. The way you react to things are, you still react, but it's a different type of reaction. As in, like, last year, this one thing maybe would have put me in the bed for a week and had me super depressed. But now I'm like, okay, we're going to handle it. I'm going to do what I can do. I'm going to leave the rest to God, and we're going to keep it moving. Right? Yeah. And then I'll handle whatever the fallout is. That's what the fallout is. It can fall out, but my story is not over. Right? It can fall out, but that does not mean I stop. It can fall out. I can have to restart. I can sit down. I can come back in the game. But my story is not over because I'm still doing that. Right? I'm still breathing. So it's more to the story. And that's what healing has done for me. It has given me that hope to know my story ain't over yet. This is not the end of the game. The fat lady has not sung. So I can still change this. God can still change it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I want to shed light on the latter part of the train we just went through, which is happiness. We kind of always combine hope and happiness together when we talk about it, but it's actually two different things. And Drea, you said it. I'm probably paraphrasing, but accepting happiness. A lot of times we don't accept happiness, or when things are so good, we say, "Oh, it's too good to be true." Or when things are great, it's like we're hesitant because it's like, "Oh, well, maybe something bad may happen." And that falls into trust issues. We just don't take things for what it is. So. Like how Kamia, I said your name right? Okay.
Yeah.
How she broke it down. It's like, okay, when God does send the blessings and when he does send the release, take it for what it is. Embrace it for what it is. If your friends, I'm talking to myself, if people want to celebrate you, let them do it. Do not downplay who you are because I don't deserve this or it wasn't that big of a deal. Accept the celebrations that's coming. Accept the encouraging work. Accept the seeds. There's a lot of people who do not want to accept seeds. Sometimes I'm led to just send somebody. No, you don't have to do that. Why would you block your blessing? Like, why? This probably has nothing to do with whatever you have to have going on financially, but stop blocking the signs and the blessings and the languages of love that God reminds us through people, through conversation, through gifts, through interaction. We truly need to learn to embrace that happiness when we get to that stage and not use it as a stage of, well, just let me hold on to it right now because it's just too good to be true, or it's not going to last long, because it really can. And like Raven, how you said, it all has to do with our mindset. Something that could have took you down in January is now March, almost April. It could be like a brush off the shoulder now. So I just wanted to shed light on really understanding what happiness is and embracing what true happiness is.
Y'all better come through with the good word today, honey. That is so good. And that what you said just made me realize that when you look at these three words, Drea said it's the blueprint, but it's the blueprint of the journey. Because once you reach a state of happiness, there's something else that's gonna come, and you're gonna have to heal from that. You're gonna have to hope that it get better, and then you'll get to that space again. So I like to think about us being on this journey that you're gonna live, you're gonna learn, you're gonna heal, then you're gonna grow. And it's a cycle because it always is gonna happen. Like, life doesn't stop. Just like Raven said, the story is not over, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to have more things that are going to be thrown your way. That doesn't mean that obstacles and things like that are not going to come. It just means that now I know I am better equipped to deal with it, right? Because a lot of people aren't equipped. They don't have those tools and that knowledge that they need in order to get to that hopeful state and go through happiness. And I think that's so good. And Ebony, something that you said is don't block your blessings. And I think a lot of times that mindset for a lot of people, we tend to not appreciate where we are because we're so busy trying to get to somewhere else. Healing is about the present moment. It's not about yesterday and it's not about tomorrow. It's about now. It's about right now. And I think that we have to practice patience and presence with ourselves, because understanding that allows you to really embrace that happiness and embrace all of those things. So as we kind of stay in this space, I want to add, like, so what what is a way or something that you can offer people when it comes to a mindset shift? What do people need to do? How do they get there? And this, now I don't want you to like give away your sauce.
Okay.
But but like, how do you introduce people to, you know what, you need to change your mindset? What will be something you give to people who are tuning in right now?
I think for me, go.
Go ahead.
You go. No, you can go because I keep jumping in. No, I think for me, I think the first step is just really knowing who you are. Because a lot of us, we don't know who we are, and we don't take out the time to be intentional in knowing who we are. And so I think really we have to identify some stuff. Like we have to identify like limiting beliefs. Like what are the things like Ebony was talking about, not being able to accept blessings. Like instead of you accepting it for what it is, you like, no, I'm good, or well, it's too good to be true. Like, what is the root of that stuff? It's getting to the root of things. Like, that's fear. You scared something's gonna happen because you still ain't really healed from the past traumas. Because if you was, then you wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be like looking for something bad to happen. So just really being intentional and knowing who you are. And I'll talk about this for like 2.5 hours. That's my lane. So I'm gonna just say really being intentional. For me, having a relationship with God and knowing who he says I am versus what everybody else say I am. Like that was the game changer for me. I don't care who you think I am. I don't care who I was. That's not who I am. And that's not who God says I am. And so when you get to a place where you really, you can't know who God say you is if you don't open your Bible. I'm just saying, I ain't preaching, but at the same time, that's the only way you're going to know who God says you are. And when you realize who you are, then you can start to walk in that. You know what I'm saying? When you know what you deserve, then you walk in that, and you don't, that's where the boundaries and everything else comes in. And I'm going to leave it at that because like I say, that's my lane. Y'all will be like sleep and wake up and I still be talking. Okay, so I'm gonna let y'all have that.
No, this is my jam too. So I'm with you too, Kamia. But okay, like when you mentioned like about like just knowing who you are, right? And so the 3 things that I normally give people when it comes to that mindset shift, right? Like in my membership experience, we do it on 3 levels. We resurface, restructure, and rebuild, right? So it's more about getting down to the root. I think a lot of the women that I normally come in contact with, or if I'm on a call, they're like, you know, well, I've done all of this healing, I've done all of this stuff. But then the more we start to talk, it's like, oh, wait a minute. So that thing that happened back when you were 17, like, okay, so this happened when you were 25, but we got to go back to the root cause of things, right? That's that resurface piece, your very foundation, right, of how you view life, how you view relationships, how you view yourselves. Like we got to tap deep into that first, because otherwise, if we don't do that deeper level of healing, you're just fixing surface level stuff. And it is nothing worse than doing all of this work to do all of this healing on the surface level. And you're building this beautiful 6,000 square foot mansion on top of this shaky foundation, right? Because you didn't go deep enough. So then what happens? Eventually, the weight of that house, because of the foundation is not sturdy, is going to crumble. And so then you find yourself going through these cycles, right? So I always say resurface, get to the root, restructure. Once you have an idea of, okay, these are some of the areas that I need to heal. Literally, people say it, they say it sounds cliche, but when I say do the work, that's just the most simplest of terms that you can put it in to get people to understand. Do the work to let go of that grief, that anger, that resentment, that hurt. You have to do the work, and then you can rebuild, right? Now that you have the new tools, now that you really know who you are, and I like to say there's a natural and a spiritual side to things, right? Once you get an idea of who you are and the natural, now when you go and open up that Bible and you read it, you're not saying, oh, they're talking to this word is talking about somebody else. No, ma'am, it's talking about you. And now you can definitely start to hone in and let God's word sink in and anchor in you, so that when all of these other things come and try to knock you out of your place of who you are, people are like, nope, not so. Keep it moving. Yes. So I think that's what I would say when it comes to that mindset shift is start with the surface.
That's good.
Yeah, really. I would say understanding seasons. I'm trying not to repeat, even though what y'all saying is so good. I know we gotta go. But understanding seasons. I think once we understand that things are seasonal, situations are seasonal, shifts in our lives are seasonal, we won't get burnt out because we're still trying to hold on to a season that's supposed to be over with. So, and I know that can be, I know that's deep. Probably not going as deep in it as I should. But to kind of break it down really quick, when you have a relationship with God, because everything starts there, you are able to discern and decipher when it's time for you to shift. When it's time for you to shift in relationships, when it's time for you to shift in business, when it's time for you to shift in personal, when it's time for you to shift and focus on yourself more than you focus on everybody else. Every season is different. And as long as you're tapped into the shift, you won't get burnt out because you're sensitive to the shift and you're sensitive to the season. So when that season is up, you'll know and it won't bother you because you won't be trying to hold on to things that was in the season last month when you're supposed to be looking forward into what's next. So how everybody already said, self-evaluation, understanding your season, like you said, knowing who I am, and I know we talk about the scripture that says God won't put more on you than you can bear. That is true. So even if you think I can't take this, there is a reason you are going through it. Do not listen to what they had to say back in the day. You know, every time you go through something, it's because it's something you did. No, not necessarily. Sometimes we go through things because we are being equipped for what we have to do later on. And then I'm going to shut up because I know you got to move on. And I'll stop right there.
Jesus, you making me want to shout and be like, everybody just shout shit. Shit. So definitely for the mindset shift, I do what is called inventory and categorization. So I take an inventory of, like, I tell the person, or I do this with myself, right? What are my thoughts, right? What are my mind? What do I think? What do I constantly think? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs that's in the front of my brain, right? And then as I start writing those down, I start categorizing it, right? So do I look in the mirror and say I'm not pretty? Okay, that's self, right? That's self-esteem. Do I not spend money because I'm afraid that I'm not going to make it back or I'm going to be broke, right? Buying one pair of shoes is not going to make you homeless tomorrow. Okay, right? So it's like, if I have that fear before I go spend money, what is that? So now we need to talk about our financial trauma, right? So I have to categorize it. I have to first take inventory. I need to know what it is. Then I'm going to categorize it. And then, just like all of you all have said, then we can do the work. Then we can dig into it. And then we'll know what we're doing, because your mindset shift is so broad, right? It's like you have self-esteem, you have family, you have work, you have your health, you have your wealth. It's so broad. So you can't just attack it holistically, but you need to break it out in pieces and figure out, this is where I need to do the work, right? Because just like how your left brain and your right brain, I may have, like, I'm really good in the self-esteem, but I don't have too much. I have a lot of financial trauma, or vice versa. So you can leave the financial stuff alone, but let's deal with yourself. Or you can leave yourself alone. Let's deal with the financial stuff. So getting to the root of it, categorizing it, taking inventory, and then constantly doing it. Like Ciera said, it's not a one and done thing. You have to constantly do it. So, like, healing isn't beautiful. It's not a beautiful thing, but it reveals the beauty. And that's what I constantly tell myself, right? My going through my healing process is going to reveal who I am, the beautiful parts of me, the beautiful parts of everyone else who's connected to me, right? So it's not beautiful, but it reveals the beauty.
So just in case y'all didn't take notes, because I did,
okay.
let me recap how y'all can start. You know, now this is just a way for us to help you. Okay, so you have to know who you are, right? And then I summarized what Drea said by saying, go beyond the surface. She said, resurface, restructure, and rebuild. Understand your seasons. Ooh, that's so good, y'all. That's so good. Right? Yes. Raven said, take inventory and categorize. And y'all, good. Okay. And I'm going to tell y'all, be ready. You have to be ready for healing. You can't just decide today, you know what, I'm going to do the work, because you're not. You got to be ready. It starts with making a commitment to yourself to say, no matter how ugly this is, no matter how hard this gets, I'm going to commit myself to doing the work and showing up for myself every single day. So if y'all didn't take notes, run this back when it's time to make sure you get those down, because that was so good. Ladies, y'all are amazing. Give yourselves a snap, a clap, whatever, because y'all are really doing some great work, and I know that the people need your services. So if everybody would take the time to just remind people who you are, where they can get in contact with you, and what you offer, that would be good. And Ebony, you can go first, because you who I see first on my screen.
Okay.
On my screen.
Once again, I'm the owner of Escape Haven and Company, not Heaven, Haven, Safe Haven. Escape Haven and Company. We are on every platform, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Google. You can find me there. If you are interested in, I didn't even say what it was. I'm sorry. It's a wellness company for those who's just tuning in, where we cater to candles and self-care products to kind of help you create that safe space within your own home. And I'm also the owner of Escape Haven and Company Day Spa. So if you're actually wanting to come in and get the feels of everything that we talked about today in a session, I would love to have you.
And next on the screen, I'm Kamia Hayes. So I'm Kamia Hayes of By Kamia Hayes. I am a mindset coach, and right now I am offering, I am also an author. So I have a book, Make Up Your Mind, which is a 31-day devotional for women. And so I am actually hosting monthly group coaching that includes the book as well as group coaching calls. And you can find me on Instagram or Facebook at By Kamia Hayes.
All right. I am Shandrea Lasco. I am the owner of the Wife Studio, WIFE, within I Feel Empowered. You can find me on Instagram as well as here on Facebook. I have a private Facebook group here called The Wife Way, where I'm teaching women to do life, love, and relationships their way. And I also have a membership experience that is getting ready to relaunch again soon, called Lux Wife Lifestyle, where we'll be doing the work that we just talked about here today.
Hi, everybody. Again, I am Raven Symone. I am a newly certified financial therapist. I own and operate Lacuna Financial Counseling Services, which Lacuna just means to break. So at Lacuna, we help individuals break poverty and debt cycles. So we focus on financial coaching. That's the budgeting, savings, investing, as well as financial counseling. So dealing with financial trauma and how you respond to money if you're afraid of it, or if you are in a lack mindset, right? So we tackle all of those things. I'm on all platforms as well. Well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, not on all platforms, because Tabitha taught me that, because I'm not consistent, y'all. But I am on Facebook and Instagram at The Money Professional. And I think it's at the bottom as well. So I can help you all if you all need to get a budget or debt plan together, investing plan, or if you just want to talk about your financial goals. Thank you for having me, ladies.
Y'all have been amazing. And I am Ciera Young. I am the owner and operator of Recycle Energy, socially known as a mental health homegirl, but I'm also a professional counselor as well. And, like if you're ready to do the work, look, come holler at your girl, okay? I also want to clap it up and just say thank you to Tabitha for even having this concept and putting this together. Mm-hmm. Dear Black Girl is everything and more, and to be in this space and have these spaces available for Black women and Black girls is just amazing. So make sure that you are buying merch, buying books, following the page, tapping in with all that she's doing, and make sure you connect with these ladies and myself as we're out here helping people do the work. And it's so necessary, especially for Black women, because we don't always have to be strong. How we as women are not defined by our strength. and we need to know that, and we need to embrace that. So thank you so much for tuning in and tapping in with us. Make sure if you didn't get all of it, go back and rewatch it. I'm telling you, take notes, because this was good, and it was good for me too. So you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope that somebody took away something from today's conversation.
Yes. Thank you, ladies.